Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menashe. On today's show, I have a confession to make. I probably stayed in an improper short-term rental last week. Last week, I was in Toronto, and my meeting was right downtown. Hotels were incredibly expensive, and the hotel where my meeting was being held was being advertised at $600 a night. So rather than stay near the airport and fighting rush hour traffic, I decided to look at short-term rentals. I came across a listing for a penthouse apartment that was only 2 blocks from my meeting in the downtown core. Better still, it was only $78 a night. The chances of finding a comparable hotel were pretty slim. So I jumped on it, and seconds later I had a firm reservation. When I received the information about the accommodations, there were strict instructions on how to enter the building only through the parking garage and not to interact with the building's concierge staff. Under no circumstances should I mention Air BnB. The key was located in the laneway behind the building in a lockbox. The instructions for locating the key were pretty clear. There was nothing saying I was explicitly in a prohibited short-term rental, but I suspect that I was. I am an owner of short-term rentals. I do this as a business. So staying in another short-term rental was an interesting experience from the perspective of someone who is in the business. This particular unit did not live up to the standards of what we provide our guests. The unit was clean and everything was in working order, so in that respect I have no complaints. But the apartment was minimally furnished, the quality of the furniture was pretty bare bones, and the apartment had not been painted since construction, had the original builder's white paint on the walls. There were no decorations or artwork. It looked very bare. Definitely not the kind of product we would offer our guests, but the location was amazing and the price was right. Short-term rentals have been controversial in many cities. In Toronto, there's new rules that govern short-term rentals, but the city said they're not going to enforce them until late into 2019 and only after the next consultation hearing, which is scheduled for August. So what is the problem with this particular rental? Most condo buildings have rules that prohibit short-term rentals. Those who purchased owner-occupied units in a condo building have a desire to maintain a secure environment. The introduction of short-term rentals significantly undermines the security of the building. Guests of short-term rental units have a lower level of accountability than those who have signed long-term leases. If I was an owner in such a building, in the heart of the downtown, I would be upset if my neighbor was a short-term rental. I would not like the noise of luggage being dragged down the hall multiple times per day. I would not like the trash being left in the garbage room, and the lack of respect for building rules. There's no practical way for someone who's just arrived, who only plans to stay 1 or 2 days, to be fully aware of how things operate in a building. Lately, platforms like Air BnB have taken increased steps to improve security. For example, I was required to scan a copy of my photo ID at the time of reservation. In addition, I was required to take a current photo, and the staff at Airbnb compared my photo ID to the photo I just took. The owners, who claim a right to rent to whoever they want to, often don't realize that they're not just renting out their unit. They are, in effect, renting out the common elements and all the shared facilities of the building. The other occupants now have to share the lobby, the pool, the sauna, and the gym with strangers, and have to deal with increased traffic in their garage. The guests are not informed of the condominium rules and bylaws, and they often impose an additional burden on the rest of the building's residents. They are less invested and less concerned about the security and comfort of the occupants, because after all, it's just a hotel room for a night. One building in Toronto sends a legal letter to owners who violate the rules of the condominium corporation. According to the bylaws of that building, the condo board has the right to charge the owner for the legal cost of preparing each legal letter. This can amount to $500 to $600 per letter. Some homeowners simply choose to pay for the cost of the letter and keep doing what they're doing. All of my short-term rentals are zoned for short-term rentals. They're in buildings that embrace short-term rentals, and they fully comply with all the rules for short-term rentals. There's no gray zone, no bending of the rules, and no breaking of the rules. I mean, think about it. If you're going to be in business on a sustained basis and you're truly a professional, how could you imagine to do anything otherwise? As you're thinking about that, think about what it takes to run a professional short-term rental. Have an awesome rest of your day. Go make some great things happen. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.